everyone, it's time to get started. I just gave a few extra minutes to see if anybody would show up. I just sent the email out, so welcome. This is Crazy Daisy, Beginner's Bliss, and we are using this MDF stand-up. When I use these, I just paint one side. You can paint the bottom if you want to, and then when you're finished, you just slide it into that little hole, and it will stand up for you on a shelf or wherever you decide to put it. The background color on the sample, this is the darker of the two greens. The colors that we've got in our palette this month, we've got Shoreline, which is the blue. We've got Citron and Celery Shoot. Citron, oops, these need to be shaken. Citron is your darker green. Celery Shoot is the lighter green. You have Petal Pink. And then the other color that you have is Dragonfruit. So those are the 5 colors if you want to color match to Americana. And then for this design, we're going to use the stencil with 16 arms. So if you haven't yet, you're going to want to paint your background and get the stencil on there. And then you can choose, I think the fun of the Crazy Daisy palette is really you can use a lot of bright colors. So if you want to use a different background color, that's fine. I used a yellow for today just so I didn't have 2 of the exact same design. But you can use any color you'd like for the background. There also is an extra color in here. So you'll notice on your guide, if you're following along with the guide, that we do have gold as well. And this gold was included in another one of the boxes. So if you've got gold, use gold. I'm going to use white today, just for those who don't have the gold. But again, anytime there's an extra color, anytime we're doing any pattern, you can absolutely change up the colors. So don't feel like you have to do exactly as I do. I'm just going to get my colors in my palette here. I am not using the Citron in the pattern because on the original background, Citron was my background. Okay, so that is not included. So if you use a different color for your background that is included, just leave that one out and use Citron in place of it. So we've got the 4 colors, Dragonfruit, Shoreline, Pink Petal, and Celery Shoot. And then your whiter gold. All right, let's get dotting. To start here, we're going to do your center dot with gold or white. We're going to use our 8mm tool and place an 8mm center dot. Then we're going to grab our blue tool, 1.5mm, which is the larger end of our blue tool. And what we're going to do is alternate the colors around. So we've got 4 colors in our palette, not using the white or gold. So I'm going to start with the Dragonfruit, which is the dark pink. And we're just going to add dots on the opposite side. So I can add 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom. And the order that you place these in is totally up to you. But then I'm going to use my celery, 1 on the right, 1 on the left, or the east and the west, as sometimes I call it, north, south, east, west. And then the Shoreline blue. And then the Petal pink. Light is drowning out the color a little bit here. Let me see if I can, well, All right, in the next row, we're gonna move over a half space every time, and that helps us create this spiral design. So next, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my 2.5 millimeter tool, which is my green stylus, the large end, and we're gonna go through the colors again. So right next to where I've got my dragon fruit, I'm gonna put one dot halfway in between. And then I can do that on the other side. And then I'll move over and I'll do the next color, which for me is blue. And I just put that halfway in between. And then on the other side. And I keep rotating one space and putting it halfway in between. So my next color is that citron green. And I end with my petal pink. So each color just moves over a half space. And the next row works the same way. We're going to use the 3 millimeter tool and go over a half a space, and you just move out one row. And you just cycle through the colors again, each color moving over that half space. And the last part of this step, we're using our 4 millimeter tool and doing the colors all the way through one more time. At this point, we've got a pretty good spiral going. And once you have the colors and you can start to see how they turn, it becomes so much easier. So in the next step, we're going to use our 6 millimeter tool, and we are going to move the colors over another half a space. So the same process we've been doing. Right. The difference here in this step is that we have an additional step. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get our 2.5 millimeter tool. That's for me, that's my green tool, the small end. And we are going to walk the dots using gold or white in that row. We're going to do, you can use your judgment. It says 3 dots on the sample, but we're going to start in the middle and go towards the right. So however many dots feel comfortable for you in this design. I think I can do 4 and it looks okay. So 3 or 4. And we're going to go around all the dots we just made by walking the dots. So that's 1 in the center, 2, 3, and 4. And we do that all the way around. Then we're going to do the colors again, moving out moving out 1 row and moving over 1/2 of a space using our 8 millimeter tool. So we're getting larger each and every time. And so once you cycle through all 4 colors all the way around your circle, we're going to do the same thing we did with the previous row where we walk the dots. So I'm going to switch to my 3 millimeter tool, which is the larger end, and I'm going to add another set of dots around each one. So we're going to walk the dots. With this one, you'll probably be able to fit 4 or 5. You're going to do that all the way around the circle. next step, we're going to complete our spiral with one more row. So for that, I'm going to use my 10mm tool. And again, we're just going to move each color over one space, or one row out, one half space over, I guess is what I mean. Once you have all 8 dots, we're going to use our 3mm tool and your white or gold, and we're going to walk the dots. This time you can probably fit 5 or 6. For the next step, we're going to start making some of these little flowers, and these are really just quick and easy swipes. And so what I did for that was I continued with the color of the spiral. So for example, I'm going to set myself up so that the first color I use is Dragonfruit, and I'm going to follow that Dragonfruit spiral. And so I want this flower right here to be Dragonfruit because that follows that color. So what I'm going to do is use my we're using our small stylus here, our blue stylus. I'm going to place just a small dot with the Dragonfruit color right over where I want to place my flower. And then you can use your 1mm tool or your 1.5mm tool. Use your judgment kind of based on the amount of room that you have. And we're just going to swipe in petals towards that center. And so I do 8. I do a top, a bottom, a left and a right, and then I do 1 in between all of those. And I just pull that inward towards that center we made. And I end up with 8 swipes towards the center. And that's the base of my flower. We're going to go all the way around following that pattern. So right here, I would do my Shoreline blue. Right here, I would do my Citron green. And right here, I would do that Petal pink. We're going to go all the way around. So a total of 8 of those following that pattern. And then after that, we're going to come through and do the centers will be our next step. once you have all of your flowers, you have 8 of those, we're going to use the 4mm tool to add a center dot to each of the flowers. And all I did was I used the color next to it. So for this blue here, I used the Dragonfruit, and I just used my 4mm tool and added a center dot right in the middle. You certainly don't have to use the same colors on the centers as I do, but for blue, I use Dragonfruit. For green, I'm going to use my blue. On the pink, I'm going to use that Citron green. And then on top of the Dragonfruit, I am going to use Petal pink. Now I dried mine just for a second here so I could show you the very last step, which is just a top dot in the center of those flowers. I used my 2.5mm tool, and you can use your gold or your white. And I just added a top dot right in the very center of each flower. And because this pattern is a little busier, I didn't add top dots anywhere else, but you absolutely could if you wanted to add top dots. You could use your background color for some top dots if you wanted to. But this design is really easy to do with different colors. So feel free to change it up if you enjoy making the spirals. I really enjoy making spirals. But this is what you end up with when you're finished. So for this one here, I used the gold. I used the Citron background. For this one here, I used a banana yellow background, and you can see it really darkens that green when you compare it to the yellow. So just by changing the background color, you can get a totally different look, or changing the color of those walking dots, you get a totally different look. But that is the Crazy Daisy Beginner's Bliss. Can't wait to see what you create. So make sure you share with us in the Facebook group or the share space. Next week, I'll show you what we got going on. We are creating this pattern on a stone. So this is what we'll be doing next week. Nice and bright colors. I'm so ready for spring. So I will see you then, everyone.